But then, chat, the fax machine. Fucking Ghostface is using a fax machine. Woo! He's using a fax machine, chat, and so they go over to the fax machine, and they slowly wait as this fax comes through, and they rip it off, and they start reading it, and it's like, it's Ghostface. He's like, I'm going to kill you, bitch. It's like, oh, God. And they freak out, and they run out of the house. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content on my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
Don't panic.
But now, my friends, we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's review for Scream 3. Now, as I said before, I have not seen this movie in a very long time. Like, I watch Scream 1 and Scream 2 quite often. I love both of those films. I think those are they're classics now, chat. They're retro. They're over 20 years old. Those are classics. Scream 3, not so much. But again, there was a lot of things going against this movie even before it came out, chat. A lot of stuff, and even when it was coming, even when they were working on it, things changed. Everything from the story itself, the script, to the actors, to the shenanigans happening outside of it. There was a lot of shit happening with this movie. And a lot of it was outside of the creator's hands, which is sad, which is definitely sad. I mean, that's kind of like a worst case scenario when there's just things that are happening in the culture, they're permeating the culture, and they're affecting your movie. So I think the original idea for Scream 3 was quite brilliant, Chad. And I'm going to get into those details in just a bit. But first and foremost, I got to ask you a very important question. That question being, how many of you have seen Scream 3, chat, the 2000 American meta slasher, directed by Wes Craven, starring David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Nev Campbell? You know him, chat. Let's see. Kill Grandma, now I gotta fight it for. I gotta do that. That's what you gotta do in Death's Door, man. Hillenberger, yes, and I'm sad to say I've seen more of Scream than Scream. Really? Oh shit, do yourself a favor and see Scream 2. Gentlemen, I have not. Chris Ayers, Glee, I think I've only seen Scream 1. Ooh, okay. Well, Scream 2 is worth it. Scream 2 is worth it. I already only wanted to catch me. I have. Oh, okay. Sears Spock, probably, but I'm not sure. You're not ready. Shut up. You shut up, Nye. No, good to have you, Nye. I hope you're doing well. Heart hands. Also, hi. Also, hi to you, Nye. I haven't seen over 50. Same, Emily. Same. That's crazy. Ironically, Scream 3 was my first Scream. Wow. I saw it, but I didn't believe it, says Luke the Boss. Even the whole franchise, I've seen the whole franchise more than I can count, says That Your Kind of Kid. Horrible one, Columbine, complete, change stones. Well, we'll talk about that. That played a huge role in this movie's just trajectory, its conception. What they later filmed. Kimmy says, I've only seen Scream 1 and 4. That's interesting. Bat Boy, I've seen all 4 Scream films. I like them in varying degrees. I thought Scream 3 was okay. Not as bad as some people say. But then I think it's such an ass pull. Williamson probably had to bend over for that one. I would say so, too. Hubble 1, sadly, yes. Chris Ayers and I would totally be the killer if we were characters of Scream. Definitely. No, 100%. Fair way, I saw one of the employees in the theater dressed like the killer, walked up and down the aisles. Scared the crap out of it. It's funny. I was going to Scream 3. I don't like it. I don't like it, says Austinic. What about the random cameo? Oh, we'll talk about that cameo. Oh, don't worry. I got it marked down. I had it marked down. It makes no sense. Well, no, it just confirms it's in another universe. It's in another Scream. You thought there was a Scream universe? Chat, nah. We're not in a Scream universe. No, we're in another filmmaker's universe, and I'll tell you what that is, Chat. I was like, I totally forgot about the cameo. There's several cameos. I'm like, whoa, I didn't remember this at all. And, I didn't feel like they were necessary, but we'll talk about them, chat. I don't think any of them, like, really, well, one of them I think works. One of them I think is kind of fun. But the other one, I'm like, okay, this is weird. I mean, that was of the time because certain people were very popular during that time and their movies were very popular. But, chat, like most of you, some of you have not seen this, but like most of you, I too have also seen Scream 3. And last time I watched it was probably, like you, Emily, a little over 15 years ago. And I just remember being kind of disappointed by it. Thought Scream 1 and Scream 2 were just so good. They were just funny. They had that violence. I really like the choreography of this. And this one just feels like it's meandering. Like it's almost sloppy. Like it has too many characters. And I think like the reason why is because it's a Frankenstein abomination of so many different ideas and just general confusion of what this third movie was supposed to be. Like I for those who don't know, the original idea for Scream 3, which I thoroughly believe now more than ever, is what they're doing for Scream 5. The original idea that Kevin Williamson had for Scream 3 and Wes Craven had was that it was going to take place back in Woodsboro again, and it would have brought back Matthew Lillard's character of Stu, who survived the events of the original movie and was training new kids to be various Ghostfaces trying to murder Sidney and her friends and her family. That was the original idea. Now, why that movie didn't happen was because of Columbine, chat, which was one of the worst mass shootings in a school in American history at that time. You know, it's since been undone, but at that time was one of the worst ones, chat. And you had all these groups that didn't like the idea of a serial killer training high school students to then be killers, and so they completely scrapped the idea, which is really disappointing because I feel like I think now we're going to get that, but I think that would have been such a great way to bring it back to that original movie, and it's like, okay, why is all this stuff coming back from the past? And they do that in this movie. They bring back, like, what the famous line is, like, the past is going to come back and bite you in your ass, as Randy says, his little cameo that he gets in the film, which is fucking bizarre. I mean, I'm glad he's in there. I'm glad Jim Kennedy's in the movie, but it's like, this is weird. Like, he knew he was going to die. It's like, I know I'm going to fucking die, but just in case this happens for a third time, even though we're dealing with the sequel shit, I'm going to plan ahead. Got to give that to Randy, chat. Got to give it to Randy. And he was right again. He was right again about to give someone from your past, but just to know who the fuck it was. And there's a lot of retconning, and it's sloppy. It's also a critique on Hollywood. I mean, it gets very meta with the Hollywood system and the sins of Hollywood. This is very much like, you can like, oh shit, that Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson knew what Harvey Weinstein was, or people like him were. And it's a critique on that, like these movie executives who take advantage of people in all sorts of ways, chat, physically, sexually, monetarily. And it's a critique on that. And that's interesting. But again, because of what it's connected to at the end of the film, that's still kind of, it's like its teeth are ripped out to a degree. And it's just too bad, because the stories in the previous two Scream films were so much fun, and they made sense. Whereas this one just feels like you kind of just pulled this out of your ass. And it's too bad. It's too bad that it just kind of ends up being I wouldn't say it's like an awful film. I don't think it's a bad movie. As of right now, it's just the worst of the Scream films. But, compared to like a lot of third chapters in a lot of horror franchises, like, it's decent enough. But yeah, it doesn't measure up at all to what those two films were. And that's because of things that were outside of the filmmakers and the creators' control. That they were told to do certain things, and they were told they couldn't do other things. And this is the movie that we got. Other thing too is I noticed that it definitely has some kills in this film, but they're really not interesting or like brutal or vicious. And I think that's also because they leaned more into the comedy, and some of the comedy in the movie just doesn't really work. I mean, some of it's fine. Some of it works for me. But other times I could tell it's like, okay, yeah, you're clearly not focusing on the horror as much as you have in the past. It's definitely the least bloody Scream film in the franchise. It was never necessarily a bad thing, but you could tell that they were like really sensitive about, okay, we don't want to piss any, family groups off or anything, or the executives off, which is a shame. Thank you, Luke Bustabitty. The reason I give this film some leeway is because it wraps up the Sidney's mom story. Yeah, true. We do learn some more things about Sidney's mom, why she was the way she was. I still think it's, it's still doing that retcon thing, which is sloppy, which I really hate. And that's the big problem I have with the movie, I think, overall, is that anytime you have a film, like a third one is like, hey, all bets are off, anything can fucking happen, and we're going to learn about the rules in just a second, or, later on in the review. But if you're bringing stuff back from the past, it needs to add to the previous two movies. It adds to them. It's like, it enriches the lore. That's what we're adding new exposition. When you have a new exposition dump, it's like, that's what it's supposed to do. This one makes the mistake, like a lot of third chapters do. They take away from the lore. They make it less interesting because they literally just make something up for this movie. And it's a goddamn shame because I think it would have been interesting had they went with their original idea of bringing back Stu, Matthew Lillard's character, and having him train an entire, group of Ghostfaces to do his bidding and carry out his master plan. I thought that would have been great. But we didn't get that. Although we might get that for this next movie. I know I'm hyping everybody up on that. I'm hyping myself up, and I shouldn't. But I really hope they're making the movie that Wes Craven and Ken Williamson wanted to make all those years ago, back in 2000, back in '99. Thank you, sirs, for the 10 minutes. And it doesn't help that Ken Williamson left and taking over writing is Aaron Kruger, who brought us such a wonderful cast as Ghost in the Shell, Reindeer Games, The Skeleton Key, Tim Burton's Dumbo, and Transformers 2, 3, and 4. Oofa. Now, those aren't great. Those definitely aren't great. Thank you, Luke, about stupidities. What if Matthew Lillard and Timothy the Elephant team up and make the cult for this? That'd be fun. I mean, bring back Timothy the Elephant, sure. I think that'd be neat. They shot him the shit, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind that. In some ways it does, and in other ways it doesn't, like finding out why Sidney's mom does what she does. I understood the explanation as to why she was so sexually promiscuous and like sleeping in everything that had like two legs. I get that. I understand. Like that's fine. But it's the other thing that comes from all that sleeping around. I'm like, all right, this is fucking. I don't like this. This doesn't work. It doesn't work, and I don't like how they try to force this relationship between. Then they force it. Yeah, they force it fucking hard between Sidney and this particular Ghostface. I don't like it. It's only one this time. It's not two. Which is crazy, Chad. There's been two ghost faces in each movie until, like, this one. That's kind of nuts. Yeah, well, at least so far. Oh, Lord. But now, Chad, let's go ahead. Oh, by the way, the movie, also, a lot of people felt the same way. Commercially, it did well. It made $161.8 million, budget $40 million, but still made a profit, did well for itself. But critically, it did not do nearly as well with audiences and critics as the previous two movies. Because, again, they thought it was sloppy. They thought that it wasn't as sharp as the other ones. And it made those unnecessary retcons, chat. And I pretty much agree. Now, I don't think it's an awful movie. I don't think this is a bad movie. It's just a movie that's like, you could see if they had just went with the original ideas, that would have been a lot more fun. I just don't like spending time in that Hollywood culture. I guess that's my other complaint, is that there's a lot of characters in this movie, and I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Maybe that's also the point, because you have actors playing the characters from the original films. Like, you have an actor who plays Dewey, and I don't know his name. I'm going to call him Fake Dewey. You have an actor that plays Gale and her Fake Gale, and they're all just, again, I don't have anything against the actors. They just don't really have anything interesting. They're all that prototypical, I'm from Hollywood, I'm rich, I don't know how to do anything by myself, and you spend so much time with them, like, all right, I don't fucking need any of this. It's like, I'm good. And when they die, and they all fucking die, you don't care. It's like, all right, I don't really give a shit about these people. And even how they kill them, it's not really particularly that interesting. Like, even the kills, like, there's some interesting sequences in this movie, but the kills are just boring compared to the ones that I've seen in 1 and 2, and most recently, 4. I'm not going to talk about 4. But yeah, just a lot of unnecessary characters, and I'm like, all right, whatever. One guy dies in a very funny way. But other than that, yeah, it's a disappointing movie, Chad. But now we got to go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty details, my scene by scene breakdown for Scream 3, Chad. And we start off in Hollywood, where everyone wants to be, Chad. Where all the young men and women of America, they want to make it big in the film industry, in the music industry, chat. And little do they know is that they need to have sex with people. That's what this film's about. You got to have sex, apparently, with a movie executive to get anywhere in this town. And who's one of those people they need to have sex with? Goddamn Liev Schreiber, chat. Cotton Weary. He's back. He's still a douchebag. He's, not as creepy as he was in the second film, because we know Cotton Weary, chat. Famously, he was blamed for the murder of Sidney's mom and Maurice, and he went to jail, and then he was exonerated because we found out it was Billy and Stu who committed the murder. And then he came back in 2, and he was media hungry, and he wanted the money, he wanted to do interviews of Sidney. He was just being really fucking creepy. Well, apparently being creepy pays off in Hollywood, chap, because now he is a talk show host for, I was like, I forgot he was a talk show. I knew he was like, like he was like a celebrity, and by the time we got to Screen 3, but I forgot that he had a talk show, and it's called 100% Cotton, and he's like one of those, like he's like Maury or one of those guys who, or like a Jerry Springer type who's just talks about this sensationalist news stories and gets all this like really graphic footage. He's that kind of guy, Chad, and he is living up. He's very much pre-Sabretooth. Liev Schreiber, Chad. He's fresh-faced and he's baby-faced. But he's in his big old SUV, Chad, because he's got to make up for something that he doesn't have. And he's, it's California traffic, Chad, so it's fucking awful. There's been an accident, because of course there was. And he's on the other line of his fucking agent, because he's upset. He doesn't want to just do this cameo in Stab 3. They're making they got up to 3 Stab movies, chat. And this third one, they don't give a shit about basing it off the actual Woodsboro murders, chat, or even the events of Scream 2. Like, we don't give a shit about that. We're just making shit up at this point. But we want to have you back. And he's upset because he doesn't want like a shitty cameo in this third film, which is going to be shitty. He wants an actual role. And he's arguing with his agent, but then he gets another call on the line. He thinks it's his girlfriend, Christine, or Kirsty, whatever the hell her name is. It doesn't matter, chat. She's just meat. But he gets the call, and he's like, hello? And the person's like, hello? And he's like, who's this? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I think I have the wrong number. And he goes, oh, it's no problem. She's like, oh, wait a minute. Your voice sounds really familiar. And he goes, oh, does it? She goes, oh, you know, you sound like Cotton Weary from 100% Cotton. He's like, oh, well, it's funny you say that. He's like, oh, my God. Mr. Weary, I just have to say, you're so sexy on TV. But just to hear your voice, oh, my God. He's like, you know what? I want to continue this conversation. I'm just on the other line with someone else at the minute. I'm just talking to my agent, and I'm going to go right back to you. She goes, okay. Don't go away for long, Mr. Weary. He goes, oh, don't worry, I won't. And he calls agent like, listen, there is a hot young woman. I mean, how does he know she's hot and young? You don't know that. Just a voice. And he says, a hot young lady on the line. You get me a better part, God damn it. And he goes, boom, and he hangs up. And he goes, hey, girl, how you doing? And he's like, oh, no, Mr. Weary, it's so good to talk to you. But don't you think it's kind of dirty and weird? And he goes, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're all interested in me, and yet I know that you have that girlfriend named Christine, right? And he goes, how do you know about Christine? And then the voice changes, because I'm looking right at her. And he's like, oh, it's Ghostface. And he's like, you better come and get her, Mr. Weary, or I'm gonna gut her like a fucking fish. And he's like, oh, and he fucking freaks out. And he breaks out of traffic, chat. He's just smashing the car. He's like, get out of my way. I'm rich and white and famous. Get out of my way. And he's running people over, chat, because he's got to get home to Christine, who he was just about to cheat on, chat. I told you he's still a fucking piece of shit. But we then cut to the house, chat. We then cut to the apartment, I guess, in Beverly Hills or something, and we see Christine, very pretty woman, chat. Why Liev Schreiber want to cheat on her, I have no idea. You know why? Because he's a piece of shit. That's why Sidney was right about one thing. Cotton Weary, not a good guy, chat. Even if he didn't kill Sidney's mom. We all knew at that point. But she's just getting out of the shower, chat. She's cleaning off the bazungas as you do. You know, gotta dry those things up, clean, drying the booty butt cheeks. Just throws the towel on the ground, like put it back on the hook. It was Jesus Christ. Where it's like, what is she? Are we savages? We're just throwing things on the ground. She just threw it on the ground. And so then she gets in this little black nightie, chat. It's like, why are you cheating on her or making the attempt to cheat on her? She is gorgeous, chat. She's gorgeous. But she's walking around and stuff, and then all of a sudden, she starts to hear the music goes on for this record player. And we hear Creed, we hear hoes in the house, it's Creed music, Chad. You don't understand it. It sounds like, bellowing of like a mountain goat of something. And she goes, is there a mountain goat or is there a record of Creed playing right now? And she's like, it is Creed. She turns it off. Is like, who could have started that record? And she turns around, it's Ghostface. Ghostface is chasing. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, oh, and she's running, Chad. As Ghostface just tackles her, Chad, stabs her leg, and she's like, oh, and she kicks him, and Ghostface always gets his goddamn ass kicked in all these movies, shit. He falls over. Oh, God. And then she runs all the way to the Cotton Weary's office, chat. And she locks the door. And then we hear Cotton Weary's voice. Babe, come on. Open the door. She's like, what are you fucking doing, Cotton? You're trying to kill me. He goes, no, it's just one of my pranks, because of Stab, the new Stab movie's coming out. It's fine, baby. I would never hurt you. Come on. Open the door. Open the goddamn door, you stupid bitch. He's like, I'm going to stab. He's like, oh, my God. And he's like, oh, Jesus. And we start stabbing at the door. What's happening? But then we cut. And Liev Schreiber's run over a bunch of puppies and women, and he's finally parked his car right outside the condo, and he's running in. Che bursts into the fucking door, sees everything's disheveled and knocked over. Chad, he's like, Christine, where are you? And he's and he sees the office door to his office. And he sees the stab marks, Chad, and he's like, oh no. And he's knocking, he's like, Christine, are you in there? Christine, are you okay? He's like, I'm coming in, all right? He goes, and he does the Kool-Aid man, oh yeah. And he bursts into the room. He's looking around for it, and she's like, Ron! And she has a golf club, Chad, and she hits him with. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you hitting me? What are you doing? He's like, you've lost your mind. What are you lost my mind? You're hitting me with a fucking golf club. What are you doing? You're dressed up as the Scream Ghostface killer. You tried to kill me. I'm gonna kill you. And she's trying to kill him, Chad. He's like, no. He's like, stop it. And then she hits him in the head with the golf club, and it kind of concusses him a little bit. And she's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm calling the police. And right when she turns around, Chad, because Cotton sees it, right when she's about to turn, he's like, no, Christine, look out. Because Ghostface is behind her. Shane goes, come here, bitch. And he starts stabbing the shit out of her, Chad, stabbing. He's like, no. Gets stabbed in the butt, all the way in the back, Chad, everywhere. And then she falls over dead. And Ghostface is like, I've come for you now, Cotton. And Ghostface grabs him and just stabs him right in the chest. He's like, go! And it gets all over his 100%, because he's wearing an all-white suit. Get it? Because he's Cotton. And it stains his suit, Chad, dirties it just like his soul. And the Ghostface is like, before you die, Cotton, I can make you die easy or painfully. I have one question. He's like, what do you want to know, man? He's like, where's Sidney? He's like, I don't fucking know. And he's like, all right. And he starts stabbing the shit out of him. And then we transition from the murder of Cotton Weary, chat, and we are now with Sidney. She has a golden retriever with a name that is called Cherokee, so she appropriated that name, chat, from Native Americans, named her dog. It's terrible. But she's walking, she's got some flippy flops on, chat. She's walking up to this property, has this big fence around it. Opens this fence, closes it, chat, has a security system. I mean, I can just literally hop the fucking fence, but okay, sure. But then we go up and she's living in a cabin in the woods, chat. She's just completely isolated from society. She doesn't want to experience anything. She's been hurt too many times, chat. Too many times in such a short amount of time. And this is what she needs to just be alone. And she goes inside. We see that she has like a life for herself and her dog with the culture appropriated name of Cherokee. And she sits down at this desk, chat. She's got a 2000s era computer and phone and stuff. And we see that apparently she is a call center, she is a crisis counseling center operator, chat. So that's where people can call in if they have a crisis, if they're getting suicidal thoughts, like that kind of thing. If they're being, if they have going through emotional distress or physical distress, place to call and talk with someone, basically. And that's her profession. She basically contacts her supervisor and says, I'm online right now. And she goes, cool. And then she waits there and she takes this this call from this woman who's being beaten by her boyfriend. And Sidney's like, oh, believe me, honey, I understand. My boyfriend beat me. And his friend also beat me. And they tried to kill me. So I can relate. So because of her trauma, chat, throughout her life, this is what she knows. She knows what to tell these women, chat. Fight back. Get the help that you need. Make sure to stab a motherfucker in the face if he's trying to kill you and set up this elaborate horror movie-esque scenario. All right? But then we cut. We cut from her idyllic life in the woodshed. We cut to Gail, who is giving a lecture in colleges now, and for whatever reason, she has chosen to have the worst haircut I have ever seen on anyone, chat. So Courtney, listen, I don't mean to be like, she should wear her hair this way because then she'd look pretty. It's like, listen, Courtney Cox, beautiful woman, no doubt. She looked great in the first movie, looked great in the second one, love her hairstyle, but I don't understand, why she chose to, cut her bangs so much that her hair is, super frizzy on top, and she's got, a mullet. Okay, and I'm just like, it is not a great look for you, Gail. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I would change it up a bit. I mean, it looks like me. What if you cut my bangs and kept my hair like this? She looks like me, chat. And you don't want Courtney Cox looking like Chris Herman. You don't need this. She has the last thing we'd need. But no one ever mentions it in the movie, that her hairstyle has changed and that it is not great. Farwolf, welcome to stream. Hope you're doing very well. Leave woman alone, Chris. I'm sorry, but people always call it out in this movie. I'm not, and women have called it out too. I'm just stating the fact that her hair looks weird. And you know what? I've seen this hairstyle recently, chat. I saw Don't Look Up last, about 2 weeks ago, that new movie by Adam McKay. And Jennifer Lawrence has that same exact hairstyle. And I don't know why that is. I guess it's still popular for whatever reason. But she has a bad haircut, and she's giving a lecture on how to be a reporter, and all the students there are being snarky towards her because it's like, well, you did everything to be a reporter. You literally got involved and destroyed people's lives. How does that make you feel, Gail? And she's like, And then the moderator comes, he's like, okay, that's all the time we have for questions. That was literally the first question, but all right, whatever. But then, when Gail is picking up all her things, she sees two police detectives in the back of the class waiting for her. One of the police detectives, chat, is McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy, chat. He's there, and he's looking very fucking pretty. Holy shit, he looks really pretty, chat, because this is when his hair was longer, and it's got that Farrah Fawcett spray. It's like, my God, you're so handsome. And then he has his small, schlubby looking guy. I don't know what his name is. I'm gonna call him Detective Boopy. His name is Detective Boopy, chat, because he goes boop, he goes, hey, and oh, that's all he says in the movie, chat. I don't know what his dialogue is, but they literally just put that man next to Patrick Dempsey, next to McDreamy, just so McDreamy looks even more handsome. Clearly that is the case, chat. But McDreamy's there, and he's like, hey, Gail, I want to talk to you about something. And he's like, listen, officer, we can meet at my office right now. This is my work hours. I'm doing lecture. He's like, there has been a murder. The Ghostface killer murders are starting up again. Cotton Weary is 100% cotton and 100% dead. And she's like, oh my God. And they also found a picture. They found a picture, and it's of Sidney Prescott's mom, Maureen Prescott, when she was young. And she's like, oh, shit, this is all connected. Eventually, we cut back to Sidney, who has spent a whole day listening to all these women talk about how they've been abused. And that weighs on you, chat. That really weighs. I mean, imagine some men, too, but probably a lot of women. And she hears a news report about, ooh, he looked the boss. Is he 100% dead? 100% dead, okay? I mean, because Ghostface said, I can kill you fast or kill you slow, and he killed him slow, chat. A lot of stab wounds in that 100% cotton shirt of his. He's not looking good. Not looking good. Now, Lee Schreiber has left the franchise. Thank you for the video, though, Luke Boss. Appreciate that. But she's listening to the report about the death of Cotton Weary. She's like, oh, yeah, Cotton, that fucking ass. Oh, my God, he's dead? Well, not really upset by this. I mean, even she's like, oh, Cotton. It's like, no, you don't fucking care about him. He's a piece of shit. Eventually, though, we cut from that, and we are on the Stab 3 set, chat, which is the fictional, sequel to the events of the previous two movies. So they went, fuck it, we have no more material for another Stab movie, so we're just literally gonna start making shit up. We have, none of the original actors returning from those fake movies, like Tori Spelling played, Sidney. And I think you also had, Luke Wilson played Billy. And, they didn't even return for that. They have all these kind of, D-list actors in the role. So we're introduced to Roman, the director. Roman is like, oh, my movie, it's chaos. And everyone's upset because Cotton was in the movie. That's his whole thing. It's like, my movie, it's ruined. And it's like, all right, Roman, cool. And then Eventually, we meet the other actors playing the characters from the previous films. So we have this one guy named Tom. He's playing Dewey. I'm gonna call him Fake Dewey. I don't know all the other characters' names. There's so many fucking characters. Again, it's my big problem with this movie. There are so many new characters, and none of them have any personality because well, I guess that's the point. They're like lesser versions of the older characters, and they're that prototypical, like, I'm from Hollywood and I'm rich and I need everything done for me. And I'm just like, I can't take this. So we have Fake Dewey, who likes to smoke. Remember, that's important. Fake Dewey, chat. We have Fake Sidney, who is this mousy girl from the Midwest, and this is her first big break, and everyone is always hard on her. We have a new character named Candy, chat, and she's kind of the prototypical big blonde bimbo with the big boobies. That's her role. We have Randy, except he's black, and so now he is Black Randy, chat. That's what he is, because he's supposed to be the new Randy character, but they wanted to add a little more color to the production, and so he works in the video store that Randy worked in. You get what it is. You get what it is, okay? And they're all upset because like production is halted, and it's frustrating for them. But then we cut away from those finely written characters, and we cut to Gale Weathers, who walks on set because she's been tasked by McDreamy, okay, and Detective Boopy to infiltrate and to figure out like what the hell's going on at this lot here. And she goes in there, and suddenly she runs into the fake version of her, chat, the fake Gale Weathers, who I'm just going to call her Fake Gale. That's it. I don't know what her name is. It doesn't matter, but she is wearing the same outfit and hairstyle that Gale had from the first movie. And Fake Gale's like, oh my God, you're like the real Gale and stuff. Listen, I like totally felt I was you in those two movies. I got so into your character, and I would just like love to talk about your relationships and like your recent failures and stuff to really get into the sense of what you would be like in a third Stab movie. And she's like, no, get the fuck away from me. But, that isn't good, because that makes her an enemy of Fake Gale, chat. But as soon as she starts walking, who does she bump into? Deputy Dewey, chat. He's there. She's like, Dewey, what are you doing here? And it's like, well, I'm a consultant on this film, Gale. They need my expertise. She's like, no, they fucking don't. No, they absolutely do not need your expertise. Like, I'm a very important member of this franchise. And more actors like start saying like, hey, you're Gale Weathers. And so we have Fake Dewey. There's a lot of Deweys now, a lot of fake versions of characters. Fake Dewey comes over and he's like, oh, Gale, yeah. No, I remember when you commented. I remember when on your show, which she left Woodsboro. We'll find out in a bit, but like she left Woodsboro to do like a 60 minutes-esque show. It's called 60 Minutes 2, but it's not really the 60 Minutes. And she did all this, all this celebrity news and shit. And it failed. It flunked. It got canceled. And she basically just covered this particular guy, Fake Dewey, and how he had a blowout on the Los Angeles highway. But she like positioned such a way where it's like, it was clearly because of drugs and alcohol that he was pulled over. He's like, no, it was a goddamn blowout. But thanks for being such a selfish bitch. And it's like, no one's liking Gale. No one's liking Gale. Also, we're introduced to Lance Henriksen, chat. He is in the movie. He's basically Harvey Weinstein in every way that you can imagine, chat. And he's like, hey, no press on my goddamn set. Get your ass out of here, Gale. We don't need you. And so they escort her off, but Dewey goes with her, and they have a little talk. They have a little, like, they're escorting her out and everything. He's like, okay, let's go ahead and talk, all right? And as they're being escorted from the set, they pass by this tour group, and who's in the tour group, chat? Jay and Silent Bob. And Jay's like, hey, I know that girl. Yeah, Woodsboro. And Silent Bob's like, and they walk away. And it's revealed, chat, that the Scream franchise is not its own universe. No, it is merely a story within Kevin Smith's universe. In the Jay and Silent Bob universe. The Clerks universe, if you will. It's like, okay. And the only thing I can think of is, I guess, didn't Kevin Smith, like a lot of his films are made through Miramax, I suppose? That's a twist, what a twist. And I was like, all right. I guess that's what it was. And, you know, the Weinsteins called in a favor or something. They thought it would be funny if they can get Kevin Smith and, you know, and it's like, all right, sure. Okay. So I guess it's all connected. It's like nice little in joke, tee hee, but it's like, all right, whatever. I mean, it doesn't, I don't know. I don't hate it, but it's not necessary. It's like, okay, well, moving on. There's more cameos in this movie, Chad. It's not just Jay and Silent Bob. Might be a princess or two in this film, but they go ahead. They keep moving. They go ahead, and eventually we cut to Sidney. Cut to Sidney in her cabin. Her dad visits. This is the dad scene. It's the last time I think he's in the franchise, as far as I know. And he's like, listen, Sidney, I know what you're doing with the call center or with the crisis counseling has been great for you, but you literally are all alone out here with your culture-appropriated dog. And I'm just a little worried. I mean, I want you to be able to experience things that I was able to experience when I was a young man. She goes, well, I went through all this trauma, Jad. Like, I just can't do that. And he's like, I understand. And then they look at the picture and they see his wife, and he's like, "Did you ever know about Mom's secrets about who Maureen really was?" And he's like, "No." Like, clearly he knew nothing about his wife, and that she was just the town floozy, chap. But fair enough. Later though, we cut from that, and then we get to some weird shit which I'm very confused by, because Sidney it's late at night and she's sleeping on her couch. And all of a sudden, she starts being haunted by her mom, Maureen, like, Sidney. And then we cut outside and we see this old woman, like all in white. And it's Maureen Prescott and like just going through bushes and trees and shit. And I'm like, I don't really know what's happening here. I have no idea. And eventually Sidney's like watching as this old woman dressed in white comes to her window and goes, "You let me die, Sidney. Why? And then like she has this bloodied hand and she falls down. Is this a part of a dream? Because later on in the film, like, okay, is this connected to what was going on before? I don't know. This is weird that why are we getting really awful dream sequences and almost supernatural? I know, well, we know why it seems slightly supernatural. I guess Randy explains it, but it's like, what the fuck is happening? And then she kind of falls off the window and Sidney goes up there and it's Ghostface, and he breaks the window. And she's like, ah! And then she's back on the couch and the window was open, so it wasn't broken, but she got scared. I'm like, I just don't get it. I didn't understand that scene at all. I'm Marcel Bibb. We're going to see what's up, juice. I hear a bit of Peter and Peter. Sidney, everybody knows I fucked every man in Woodsboro. Sidney. It's true. True, chap. We then cut from Zombie Mom and Ghostface Dream, and we then cut to the character of Candy, Chad. Ooh-wee, Candy. And so... also, they're apparently they start to figure out that the Ghostface killer is following the script of the new Stab 3 and is killing characters in the order which they die in the movie. And so Cotton Weary's character, who played himself Cotton, dies first in that movie, and the next person is Candy, and she's really upset about that. And so she goes to the offices of Stab 3, and no one's there apparently on a work day. I guess everyone has lunch and like no one stays, like no one's there. None of the admin staff is there, chat. Not a single goddamn secretary to take a message. Like literally no one's there. She walks in and she gets scared by Black Randy. Goes boo, and she's like, oh, and because it looks like he has a pair of scissors in his head, and he's like, hey, this is fucking Steve. He put fucking scissors in my head. Isn't cool. She goes, no, you scared me. Don't you know there's a murder around here? And he's like, all right, I'm sorry, Candy. Jeez. He's like, my name's not Candy. It's Sarah. Don't call me by my character's name. I hate this job. He's like, all right, fuck Christ. All right, I'll see you at rehearsal. And so they leave. And so he goes, she's like trying to wait for Roman. Goes into his office, chat. He's not there. The meeting was at this time, okay? And she's very frustrated by this. And so she's fiddling around with stuff on his desk. Then fucking drops his trophy for directing Scream or Stab 1. And it's like, oh, God. She's like, okay, enough of this. And so she decides to go ahead and call him on his office phone, whatever. And so does that, and he picks up. He's like, oh, no, that's the thing. He calls the office. That's what it is. She picks up the phone, and Roman apologizes. He's like, oh, Candy or Sarah, whatever the fuck your name is. I'm so sorry. I'm on. It's LA traffic, and that's true. LA traffic is the literal fucking worst. I've never experienced traffic like that before. Like, I thought I-35, Texas traffic, Austria, worse. No. Los Angeles, goddamn nightmare. And so I'm like, of course he's late. You have to factor in an extra 40 to 50 minutes, if for a meeting. It's like, listen, this guy's probably going to be 40, 50 minutes late because it's literally just the way LA is. And I was like, no, thank you. And he's like, well, listen, I just wanted to let, I know you had some concerns about your part. Please go ahead and tell me about it. And she's like, I just don't like that I'm playing the big-breasted bimbo character who dies second. I mean, literally in my first scene, in my second scene in the movie, I'm taking off my clothes even after my boyfriend Cotton has died. I mean, that's just some bullshit. And he's like, yeah. Hey, do you want to go ahead and rehearse your lines? And she's like, oh, okay, fine. And so she sits down. They start going over the lines and everything. And eventually, they're going back and forth, like the phone call. And where she's like, hello, who's this? And, he's going, hello? Oh, who's this? She goes, oh, my name is Candy. He's like, no, your name is Sarah. She goes, Roman, what the fuck? I mean, did the script change again? Oh my God, like we can't memorize all of our lines. We can't memorize any of our lines if you keep changing the fucking script every single day. He's like, why don't you keep your goddamn mouth shut, you bitch? This isn't Roman. I'm coming to kill you. I'm changing the story. And she's like, oh my God. And then all the fucking lights go out in the studio, chat, in the building that she's in. She goes out there, and who's out there, chat? It's Ghostface. I'm gonna stab you. And he's like, oh my Jesus. And so she starts running, chat. She starts running as fast as her little legs can take her. And she goes into the prop and costume room where she's hiding, chat. And she's like falling into, mannequins and shit. Like, oh God, mannequins and shit. And she falls down and literally she runs into a bunch of Ghostface costumes. And of course, Ghostface has already gotten in there. And he's like literally just standing there waiting for her to like to touch him. And she's like, oh, Ghostface. And then she's like, oh, you're real. And then he punches her in the face, chat. Fucking throws her through a door, like a glass door, and like starts like sawing her tummy on the door. She's like, oh, and stabs her in the butt. Each cheek gets a stab, and a final stab right at the base of the neck. And she's done, chat. Candy has been killed from Ghostface. We will mourn her and what she offered for this movie, which was not a lot, but again, it's not her fault, Eventually, we cut back to Gail and Dewey, and they're talking about their relationship. We learn a little bit like what happened after the events of Scream 2. Apparently, she stayed in Woodsboro for a year as Dewey's got like a little more. He's moving around a little bit better. He doesn't have like the doesn't have the limp anymore. Like, he's got a little bit of a limp, but not too much of a limp. It's not noticeable. Like, his hand has recovered. His arm has recovered, chat, so he's not, like, holding it weird anymore. He's doing a lot better. Still got that derpy little Dewey mustache. But she stayed with him for a year, and she couldn't stay with him no more, chat. And he was upset about that because you told me at the time, though, Gail, that you could have stayed in Woodsboro forever. And she's like, well, a year in Woodsboro is like 7 years in dog years. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I guess she just got bored there. She wanted more opportunities, and she called off. They were fucking. They were engaged in a romance chat, and she just called off the romance because she wanted to pursue stuff for her career. And that really hurt him, and, he eventually. He left the force, and that's why he's consulting on this film, because he also wants to earn some money too, okay? All right, he wants to, provide an honest look into Deputy Dewey, who is so often neglected in these films, which is true. But he says also, like, there's been some interesting things since you left Woodsboro. Like, clearly, this killer is going after Sidney again. She's like, how do you know that? He goes, well, we got a call a few months ago, and I guess he was still working at the police station, and this individual who said they were working on the Stab 3 film wanted access to Sidney Prescott's police file, who has all of her updated information because she's currently living in isolation. No one knows where the fuck she's living except the police in Woodsboro. No one knows where she is, and so this person's calling up wanting to access this file, and we initially said no, and they got very angry, and they sound very erratic, and we contacted representatives of the film, and they said they didn't send anyone out there to get in touch with the Woodsboro Police Department to find Sidney's file, and then apparently, like a week later, someone broke in the police station and ravaged the archives, but they didn't find the file, Gail. And she's like, why not, Dewey? Because I already took it beforehand, so they couldn't find Sidney. And she's like, whoa, holy shit. Well, what do you want to do? He's like, well, first off, clearly, and they get like they learn, I think, in a bit. Oh, yeah, that's right. They get a call and they find out that Candy's been murdered, and he realizes, oh shit, they're killing them in the order of which they die in the script. And so he's like, oh shit, who's the next person that's gonna die? And he's like, it's you, it's fake Gail. And so he then goes to fake Gail's abode, Chad, her home. We're introduced to her bodyguard, Patrick Warburton, who literally just stands around like this and goes, how you doing, Dooster? He calls him Dooster the whole time. He has no respect for Dewey. Will's introduced the fake Gail, who is wearing an outfit that just looks like you dipped her in like various ice cream toppings. I can't describe it, Chad. I don't like, she has like so much shit in her hair and all her clothes. There's like pins on and stuff. Like I don't get it. I have no idea, but it looks like you just dipped her in ice cream toppings, and she's just like, oh my God, my anchor, my Dewey. And clearly her and Dewey have been fucking. Even Gail's like, have you been sleeping with fake me? He goes, I mean, we just started Dewey. She's like, Dewey? He's like, what? She really cares about me. She wants me close. She goes, oh my God. Eventually, we find out, he's like, okay, well, because fucking fake Gail is panicking because she's like, I'm the next one that dies in the script and Ghostface is going to kill me. Patrick Warburton's like, hey, don't you worry. I'm going to protect you. He's like, I'm going to protect you too. He's like, okay, wannabe cop. Okay, sure. And Dewey's like, don't worry, I'm going to go get some protection right now, not of the sexual variety. And so he has a fucking trailer that is on her property, Chad. And Gail's like, do you fucking live here? He goes, yeah, she just feels, protected when I'm close. And he gets his fucking gun and everything. He goes outside, and where Patrick Warburton is walking around, he's, surveying the grounds, and he's like, listen, Patrick, I think it might be good to take Gail to a location that's, not here, just because, the killer might be intimately aware of the environment, so take her off-site so he can't find her. Be good. He's like, okay, listen here, Dewdrop. All right, I've been doing this personal security for all sorts of big Hollywood stars, as you know. Chad Kroger, got that guy right there. Various other famous people who have starred in other 90s sitcoms. But I have this, so I don't need no wannabe rent-a-cop tell me how to do my goddamn job. And he's like, all right, shit, fuck, fine, man. But fucking Dewey takes it. He's like, I'm not going to argue with him. Eventually, they go. And, oh, yeah, that's right. The police, so that's the thing. They then go to the police. McDreamy contacts them. He's like, all right, listen. They go to the set, and at this point, they close down the entire set. It's gotten too fucking crazy at this point. And Roman, he's freaking out. He's like, oh my God, my movie, it's ruined. And like, this is my first big thing that I've ever had the opportunity to direct, and it's destroyed. And then at one point, because Dewey's on set with Roman talking to him and everything, and Detective McDreamy's there with Detective Boopy, and McDreamy's like, oh shit, my phone battery died. Hey Dewey, can I borrow your phone so I can call someone? He goes, sure, and just hands his cell phone over to Detective McDreamy, and he goes and makes some calls. Eventually, they're like, all right, well, we gotta go. We gotta go and protect all of the stars and starlets, chat. And so they all arrive back at fake Gail's house, where we have fake Sidney. She's all sad and shit. We have fake Dewey. Fake Dewey's getting high. He's smoking every fucking reefer he possibly can, chat. He doesn't care. He's just ripping up the script at this point. Like, it doesn't even matter. Who gives a shit? But eventually, Courtney Cox, or Gail, the real Gail, she comes over and she's like, listen, Dewey, I contacted the phone company and the phone records, and apparently the person who has been calling has been using your phone. He's like, what? How's that possible? She's like, you didn't happen to give your phone to anyone, did you? He goes, well, just this really handsome guy. It's like, oh no, like things are not good. Oh, that's the other thing too. The reason why Gail shows up is she's also curious, because that's the thing, because they ask her to leave the set. She goes there and she sees that Dewey and fake Gail are smooching and stuff. She's like, I don't approve of the fake smooches. And they're also going over like old pictures of fake Gail that she has. It doesn't matter. Eventually though, she's brought in by Patrick Warburton, who's still surveying the grounds. Like, keep your ass here, okay? I'm gonna go and continue to survey the grounds. It's like, okay, cool. So they do that. And eventually what happens is they get, oh yeah, that's the thing. Patrick Warburton, he's going around the grounds. He's looking at stuff. And Dewey's like, listen, Patrick Warburton, just want to make sure that you stay protected. The Ghostface killer might be showing up here. He's like, don't you worry about Dewdrop. I got it. And he goes in his trailer and instantly gets fucking attacked by the Ghostface killer. And she's like, ah! He's getting stabbed and shit, and he's dying. He gets stabbed. But he does throw Ghostface around. He does throw him around the trailer. She's like, ah, and he falls over. And Ghostface keeps stabbing him. Eventually, everyone else is in the house. They're all kind of freaked out and scared. And they're like, oh, geez, I hope Patrick Warburton's okay. And then Patrick Warburton has managed to lift his mass off the ground and waddle over to everybody. He's like, and he falls down dead, chap. His back's been all stabbed and the knife is still, and they're going, oh! And they freak out and they go outside to the pool area. But then everyone's like, well, what if the killer wants us to go outside so he can kill us like he killed Patrick Warburton? We should go back inside. And so they go back inside, Chad. But they start getting calls on their phones. It's like, oh, geez. No, don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. But then, Chad, the fax machine. Fucking Ghostface is using a fax machine. Woo! He's using a fax machine, chat, and so they go over to the fax machine, and they slowly wait as this fax comes through, and they rip it off, and they start reading it, and it's like, it's Ghostface. He's like, I'm going to kill you, bitch. It's like, oh, God. And they freak out, and they run out of the house. They run out of the house, and they're like, well, wait a minute, maybe we should learn more about what he's saying. So they run back inside the house, they continue to read the message, and Ghostface basically tells him, I'm going to use alternate versions of the script, so now you don't know who's going to die in any order, which the actor's like, no, he's right. There were other versions of the movie, but they were changed through subsequent drafts. And they're like, oh, shit, now we don't know who's going to die at this point. It's like, what the fuck is happening? And then they continue reading, and the one thing it says, I will let one person live. I will let every person live except for one. Except for one. They're like, oh, they freak out, except for one, and they run out. But then fake Dewey's like, well, we gotta find out. What does he mean, let every person live except for one? I'm gonna go back inside the house alone where it's dark and there's no power, and I'm gonna check the fax machine again. And they're like, why? And so he runs back in there, rips off the page. He's like, oh, I can't see in the dark, even though I can literally just walk outside and read it in the light right there in the moonlight, but whatever. So he goes into the kitchen. And we know he's a big old doobie smoker, chat, so he gets his Zippo, and he reads and he says, I will let the entire group live except for the one that doesn't smell the gas. Doesn't smell the, and I guess Ghostface cut the gas line to like the oven and shit. And we watch fake Dewey just get blown up, chat, and there's bits of fake Dewey everywhere. It doesn't matter. He was a bad character. He explodes. And the whole entire house blows up. Patrick Warburton's body is cooked, chat. And then they're like, oh, they just start running into the Hollywood Hills, chat, going in opposite directions. It's complete chaos, chat. Eventually we cut to Dewey, and he's hearing fake Gale and real Gale call his name. He's like, well, which way do I go? Real Gale, fake Gale? And he goes towards real Gale, chat, and he finds real Gale. She's on this street, and he's like on this hill leading down. But then, oh no, Ghostface shows up, and he tries to stab real Gale. She's like, no! And he pulls out this fucking gun. Boom, 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 boom. He plugs Ghostface like 6 or 7 times, chat. Kills him dead. Got him. And then he falls down because he's Dewey. Because he's klutzy and he's like goofy. He falls down and Gale goes over to him. He's like, oh, Dewey, you okay? He's like, I'm okay, Gale. I'm just glad it's over. Oh my God. And they go and fucking Ghostface vanish even though he was shot 6 to 7 times. He's like, but no, it's not possible. I plugged him 6 to 7 times. And it's very weird. Eventually, fake Gale, he's like, where were you? I was calling your name and you went to real Gale, you asshole. And then we see fake Sidney. She's like, I'm so scared. I'm from the Midwest. I don't know what's going on. They blew up fake Dewey. It's like, yeah, it's real sad. But then they go over to where Dewey shot Ghostface. And on the ground, she has a bunch of broken glass and a picture of Maureen Prescott. And Dewey recognizes something. Because, as I said before, he was looking at pictures with fake Gale earlier in her house, like press pictures and stuff. And the building that fake Gale was standing behind is the exact same building that Maureen Prescott was standing behind. And he's like, wait a minute. And he turns the picture around. It says, I killed Maureen Prescott. He's like, oh my God, the plot thickens. It's like, what the hell is going on? The killer is taking credit. This new Ghostface is taking credit for Maureen. But we know that the people that killed Maureen Prescott were Stu and Billy Loomis from the original Scream. Unless they retconned it. Ooh. They go back to the police where McDreamy's like, what the hell were you guys thinking staying in that house? You know, you could have gotten all of yourselves killed, you know? And he's like, that's what I said. Dewey said it. He's like, who are you? He's like, I'm Deputy Dewey. He's like, you're just a deputy from some, hick town. Listen here, I'm McDreamy. I'm handsome. That's Detective Boopy. He's not as handsome, but he emphasizes my handsomeness, okay? I want to talk to Sidney. I want to talk to Sidney Prescott right now. She needs to be aware of the situation that's going on. And he's like, I can contact her. Yes, contact her because I have questions for her that do not pertain to how cute and sexy she is. And he's like, cool. And so Dewey steps out of the police station and he calls Sidney. And he's like, hey, Sid, listen, it's Dewey. You know my voice. I've called you like 5 times. I just want to make sure that you're doing okay, but we could really use your help right now. The Hollywood detectives want to talk to you. And then who walks through the police station door, chat, when he's on the phone? Sidney Prescott. He's like, Sid. And she's like, I just had a feeling I had to be here. It's like, okay. And they hug and everything. And they go to Officer McDreamy, who just is staring at Sidney's cleavage throughout this entire scene. Like, nice to meet you, Sidney. Oh, eyes. Yes. And they're talking about all the recent murders and how they relate to Scream 1 and Scream 2 and how this killer is basing his murders off of this fake film of Stab 3 and stuff. It's crazy, but it's very obvious that McDreamy has a big fat crush on Sidney, chat, because she is a cutie patootie. There is no good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing well. She is a cutie patootie. She looks great, but it's like, come on, dude, come on, be a fucking professional at this point. Eventually, they decide like, okay, well, let's go to set because we gotta look. They literally Scooby-Doo this shit. We have to look for clues. It's like, okay. And so they go to the Stab 3 set, and they happen to run into, I guess she was another consultant on the film, Martha Meeks, who is the sister we never learn about in the previous 2 Scream movies. Everyone's like, of course, Martha Meeks, Martha? Right? And it's like, huh? But this is the sister of Jamie Kennedy's character of Randy Meeks. And she's like, oh my God, and they like have her, like, there's like a line where it's like, come on, it's obviously Randy's sister. Can you just look at that fucking face? And it's like, they said it was kind of rude towards the actress. Like, yeah, look at her fucked up face. It looks just like Jamie Kennedy and his weird fucking face. It's like, all right. But she's like, I have something inexplainable to show you. And they're like, cool. And so she has this VHS tape, and it is of Randy during the events of Scream 2. Why did you say that name? Punches her. I'm like, listen, it's good. I always thought it was a mistake to kill. If I have any, like, nerdy or, fan critic, whatever we want to call it, chat. You know, like his death is very effective in Scream 2. I acknowledge that, but I love his character so much, and he's super fun. He's intelligent. He's the audience avatar, and he's great to have that. He explains the tropes and stuff. And I think he just killed him just for the shock of it. But it's like, I wish he didn't do that. But they have him here, and apparently we learned that during the events of Scream 2, before his death, he had made this video in case this happened for a third time. It's like, okay, okay, sure. And he's like, hey, everybody. It's Randy here. If you're watching this, I'm dead. And they're like, oh, he's like, don't be sad. I know you're sad. And he's like, listen, I just, you know, I've had all these thoughts and feelings, and I've just realized time is fleeting. And I knew that time was fleeting when I had what was that girl's name? Creepy Kate? With Kate. He's like, Kate, the video's was like, oh, Creepy Kate. He's like, hey, don't call her Creepy Kate. She's actually pretty nice, all right? And they're like, well, like it's getting like really like breaking the fourth wall. Like he's actually talking about it in the video, and they're like responding. That's kind of fun. I do like that. But he's like, listen, guys, after having sex with Creepy Kate and, you know, possibly might die in Scream 2, it led me to think that they might do a Scream 3, a dreaded trilogy, if you will, okay? And with the trilogy, there are new rules. Rules that would no longer apply from the first and second film, the sequel rules, okay? And we get to learn the rules of Randy for a trilogy chat. Rule number 1, the killer is now supernatural. You have to kill him through very extreme ways. That's the only way you can do it. You got to cryogenically freeze him. You got to blow him up. Yeah, I mean, this is the only way. Use an act of God. That's the only way. This guy is supernatural. He is deadly. Luke doesn't get the video. He isn't around his niece and nephew in this film. Yes, they are. In the new one, they are. So Martha, she got her own. She got a man. She had good for her. But he's like, the killer is supernatural, and he's very deadly. You have to use extreme means to kill him. Rule number 2, anyone can die. That includes you too, Sidney, okay? Even main characters. This is the last chapter of a trilogy, okay? This is how this works. So you can die, beloved characters can die, even I could die. Hopefully I don't. And rule number 3, the past will come back to bite you in your ass. You will learn something that is related to events in the previous 2 movies that will change your view of those film's events. And he's fucking right. He's right again. The most negative way possible, but it's true. He has guessed all the killers in 1, 2, and he guesses what happens at the end of the movie. Fucking good. That's why they had to kill him. It's like, you are too smart for your own good. Stab, stab, stab. There you go. It's a goddamn shame. And it's like, well, guys, it's been a pleasure. You know, I might be seeing some of you soon, but if not, I wish you the best of luck. Bye. And he leaves the franchise forever, chat. He leaves the franchise. It's a goddamn shame. So after that part, it's like, oh shit, anyone could die at this point. We then have Gale and fake Gale fighting, but they then agree to work together using their Gale powers, Chad. That's what they're going to do. And so they want to sneak down into the archives to find out more about Maureen Prescott, because they found the building which she got her picture shot from. So she was in Hollywood apparently for like 2 years. She left Woodsboro for like 2 years before they married Sidney's father, and she tried to make it as an actress, but they can't find no information of a Maureen Prescott. So it's like, okay, maybe she had a stage name, so they're going to go down to the archives show. So they go down to the archives where we get another cameo. It's Carrie Fisher. She apparently lives in a basement. She lives in a basement. She smokes cigarettes all day, like, hey, what do you want? And they're like, we would like, are you? And they do the whole thing. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Are you? She's like, I'm not Carrie Fisher, okay? I didn't sleep with George Lucas to get in the Star Wars. So she's not Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher, where apparently the real Carrie Fisher slept with George Lucas to get Star Wars, and this Carrie Fisher is a different person but looks just like her. It's like, okay, sure, it's too meta. I'm not the actress you're looking for, very much so. And she, Gale's like, listen, real Gale's like, listen, not Carrie Fisher. We need your help. We need to find this file. And she's like, listen, I work for the studio. Okay, I work for the president of the studio, and I can't reveal any information to any outsiders. And like, I don't know what the fuck you're. She just works in Arkham. I don't get it. And she's like, well, how about this president? She lays down like I don't know, like a $20 bill, Thomas Jefferson. She's like, yeah, no, I don't work for that president. And even then, I will give the fake Yale. Fake Yale's like, that's not how you fucking bribe someone. And she just takes off this huge golden diamond ring that she has, and she just puts it right in front of Carrie Fisher. She's like, that's acceptable. I'll take this. Okay, let's go. And apparently Carrie Fisher has an encyclopedia knowledge of every woman who has worked in Hollywood from the 1970s to now, from 2000. So 1970 to like 2000, she had like 30 fucking years. And she knows that that's not Maureen Prescott. That actress is Rena Reynolds. And they look at her file, and it's Maureen, and apparently she did 3 horror pictures. It's like Attack of the Amazonian, aliens and the 8 people, and like really like weird shit. And those films, we learn, are all produced by Lance Hendrickson, who is the producer of the Stab series, chat, based on the events of the Woodsboro murders. And so it's like, wait a minute. If he's the producer on Stab, then he would know who Maureen Prescott is. And so he clearly worked with Maureen Prescott. He knows something that he hasn't told anyone, chat. Haha, the plot fucking thickens. We then cut from that. And Sidney is in a bathroom, chat. And anytime Sidney's in a bathroom, it's never good. It's never good. Because then she hears someone on the toilet, and she looks down. She sees someone has lifted their legs back on the toilet seat. And she's like, shit, I've been through this. I remember this. And she rips open the door, and she's confronted with fake Sidney. I think he's like, oh, Jesus, God, I'm so sorry. I just knew it was you. I just would feel bad. I just want to leave you alone. And she's like, I'm sorry. It's okay. But then she drops something, and it's the Ghostface, man. She's like, no, I'm not Ghostface. It's just, the pictures, the production's closed down. I was just hoping to take some souvenirs. She's like, you're stealing these from set? And he goes, no, they're souvenirs. I mean, this is like my only chance I probably ever get into a Hollywood movie, and this is it. So I just want something to remember it by. It's like, bull fucking shit. You're selling that so you can sell it online, but whatever. And she's like, hey, listen, I just want to let you know that it's a real honor to meet you, and I thought it would have been a great honor to play you. I would have liked to talk with you, but I knew how difficult it was to find you. I mean, we tried to find you, Sidney. And she goes, huh? She goes, anyway, I got to get going. Bye. And so she leaves. And then Sidney notices, oh, you dropped your brush. I'm going to chase after you. And so she goes out there, but fake Sidney has disappeared, Chad. And she walks onto the set of Woodsboro, where we see the houses from all the previous movies. We see the original. We see Stu's house from the first film, chat. And I feel like this is how they retrofitted some of these houses. Because originally we were supposed to go back to Woodsboro in the third film. We are going to go back to those original houses and everything. But this one's like, well, we can't really do that now. But we want to have those sequences in this movie. Some action sequences here. So they actually literally just brought the houses to Hollywood. And she goes through the rich Stu's house, and she has all these flashbacks, and we hear Matthew Lillard, and we hear Billy Loomis and stuff, and how they were, stabbing each other in the kitchen. She then goes to her house, chat. She goes up there. She starts to relive. She goes up to her bedroom, and we hear Blue Oyster Club's Don't Fear the Reaper. And she remembers Billy Loomis talking about the extra, which is kind of cool. I kind of dug this. I did like this scene of her reminiscing and remembering all the traumatic experiences and shit. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Okay, I do like this, and this scene's good. I think this sequence is pretty fucking cool. I don't mind this one. I mean, I've been making fun of this movie because I just think it's kind of all over the place, and it's too much is going on. There's too many characters I don't give a fuck about. But I like this sequence a lot. And she's just sitting in her room, and it's done up in the exact same way it was done up in the original movie. Everything is right where it is. And she's like, oh my God. And she's sitting on the bed, and she looks over at the window, or she remembers Billy crawling through, and she goes over to the window, chat, and then boom, fucking Ghostface is there, which is so funny because Billy Loomis was Ghostface, And now Ghostface is here. And so Ghostface starts chasing her around the fucking house. She's like, oh my fucking Jesus God. She's going everywhere she can, Chad. She's pushing things into him and like throwing things at him, throwing Voss at his head and stuff. And she's literally like crawling on the facade of the house and on the sets. And so at one point, she climbs up, like there's this one door, which is really cool. Like she opens this door and it's just a precipice. It's like a 3-story drop and it goes into her bedroom. It's like, oh, cool. Cause they like built the houses on top of each other, which is interesting. And so at one point she takes her and she swings to the side. Ghostface just goes, boo, he shoots right out the door and falls onto the bed. And she's like, oh, God. She swings back over. She tries to run out. But then Ghostface, tackles her through the goddamn window. And they fall onto the craft services, Chad. All the Cheetos everywhere, Chad. They're all gone. Destroyed. It was a waste of Cheetos and Kraft cheese and crackers. Eventually, she comes to, I guess, Ghostface. He recovers and... Oh, that's the thing, too, because Sidney's like, fucking Dewey! She's just screaming for Dewey and shit. And they come a-running, they get there, but Ghostface has left. He's like, he was here. He was fucking here. Oh, I forgot, too. When this was all going on, we had another, I hate this scene. There was another weird sequence where Ghost Mom shows up. She's like, Sidney, I died, Sidney. Don't you love your mother? It's like, I don't care. Everything. Oh, I hated it. Everything with. I'm like, is this actually happening or is this in her mind? Because then Ghost Mom like stands up and starts like, ooh. I'm like, all right, just a wait. I just don't like it. We come from that. They send Sidney back to the police station with McDreamy while the rest of the characters. Okay, we got to go and talk to Lance Hendrickson, the movie producer. We then go to Lance Hendrickson, whose name is like Milton or whatever. He's not. It's Lance Hendrickson playing Lance Hendrickson, except. You know, as it's Lance Hendrickson, playing Lance Hendrickson, but everything he does is what Harvey Weinstein did. That's what he's doing. And so we cut to the meeting with Lance Hendrickson. He's talking with Roman, and Roman is scared because he was taken in by the police for questioning and stuff, for his phone records or something in connection to the death of Candy, who was murdered, Sarah Candy, whatever. And Lance is like, don't worry about it, baby. It's going to be good for your clout, okay? It's a mystique. He's like, you think I can be able to get work? And then Dewey and Gail and fake Gail and whoever else is alive, it doesn't matter. They burst into the room and go, we want to talk to you, Lance Hendrickson Weinstein. And he's like, Roman, you can leave my office. Remember to shut the door, son. He's like, yes, sir, Lance Hendrickson, sir. Shuts the door. He's like, we have evidence here that you knew Maureen Prescott. She worked on 3 of your movies back in the 70s. He's like, I worked with a ton of actresses back in the day. Okay, how do you know? Well, you absolutely knew who she was, all right? All right, you had intimate knowledge of all the stab movies. You know Maureen. He's like, okay, fuck it. I knew who Maureen Prescott was. Jeez. All right? But I couldn't reveal that to the police. I couldn't reveal that. Do you know how much heat it would have brought on this picture? They would have shut it all down for questioning and stuff. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. The press would have destroyed me. And it's like, oh, it's all about you. He goes, listen, here, I'll tell you what you want to know, all right? I knew Maureen Prescott, but she was originally called Rena Reynolds. Good stage name, very good stage name. And yes, she was involved in a couple of bit parts in my movies. But, hey, you know, I said that she could get bigger roles, supporting actor, maybe a leading lady, if she did a few things for us. Did a few things for me. And you're like, what are you talking to me? He's like, all right, listen, you know, no, don't be all holier than thou. I mean, everyone did it. It was the 70s. We all did this shit, okay? I told her to come by my place. We had, we have parties there. We had parties there in the 70s. It was good times. And, we went to my secret chamber. Every rich white guy has a secret chamber with locks on it, yeah? And, we fucked her. We fucked the hell out of her. It's like, whoa! And he raped her. Him and all of his weird, creepy, rich executive buddies raped Maurice Prescott over and over and over and over and over again. He's like, it's the 70s. Come on. Everyone was raping somebody. I was like, okay. And they're like, you're disgusting, Lance Hendrickson. And he's like, she couldn't handle it, and so she went back to Woodsboro, but it looks like she liked having all the sex because, we got it down there. It's like, you disgust us, Lance Hendrickson. And we're not going to be here. We're leaving. But they have this important information. Different times. And so then they leave. Well, it's Cosby there? Probably. probably was there. But it's revealed that, yeah, and this is totally just, this like, oh, it's fucking Harvey Weinstein. It's what he did with actresses and things. Like, you want a big part in the movie? Then come on, suck my dick. Like, all that stuff. It's the same, which is funny because the Weinsteins produced this movie, which is fucking nuts. Although Harvey Weinstein was one of those guys who never liked the Scream films. They made money, but he never liked them. And I imagine because Wes Craven knew what the fuck he was, I would guess. And what happened is basically you assume Maureen Prescott never recovered, as you said, Luke DeBoss, never recovered from the rape, from the multiple raping she experienced that night, and probably over time, too, by Lance Henriksen's character and other people. And so it's like, okay, I think that's a fine explanation. That's not retconning anything. That makes sense. What happens later is a retcon, which I don't like. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Eventually, we cut from the rape parties, and we are back with McSteamy, and he is hitting on Sidney. It's talk about, professional, environment. He is hitting on Sidney so hard, Chad. She's like looking on his he has a love for film, because she notices he has a love for old school movies and horror movies and trilogies. It's like, he's Ghostface, maybe. And they start talking about Sidney's mom, and it's like, why do you think she was doing those things? She's asking him, like, why didn't she tell me about who she really was? She's like, maybe she was afraid to tell you, Sidney. Maybe she was afraid that you'd be disappointed. Hold on, I have a call I need to take care of. I'll be back in 2.5 hours. She's like, that's a reasonable amount of time to keep me waiting. Fantastic. And he leaves. Eventually, we cut to the trio of Dewey, Gail, and fake Gail. They're in the car, and they get a call from Sidney, who says, hi, everybody. I'm going to go over to the big birthday bash that Lance Henriksen is having. He seems like a real swell guy. Are you guys going to go over there? It's like, Sidney, you should probably learn about Lance Henriksen. He was is a creepy rapist who raped your mom years ago. And she goes, why don't you go ahead and we could talk about it at Lance Henriksen's party? And they're like, oh boy, we got to go safe. That's clearly not Sidney on the goddamn phone, but okay, sure. We cut from that, and we were at the party where Roman is at the party. He's been drinking, chat. He's been drinking champagne. He's like, hey, everybody, everyone's here. We have Black Randy's there. He's there. He's doing what he's doing, chat, which isn't much. We have fake Sidney. She's there, too, and they arrive, and they're like, guys, listen, where's Lance Henriksen? They're like, we don't know. He told us just to fucking enjoy the spread, enjoy the drinks. We're having fun. Come on, let's get drunk. Let's have sex. And they're like, Roman, we don't know. Like, there's a Ghostface killer. He's clearly out there. We learned some information about Sidney's mom, and we really need to talk to Sidney. He's like, I haven't fucking seen Sidney, man. I mean, Sidney was fucking Sidney. And they're like, hey, guys, And he's like, Roman interrupts Dewey, and Dewey's like trying to make sense. Roman's like, hey, I heard that fucking Lance Henriksen has like a weird, rapey screen room dungeon thing, and we should all go find it. Everyone's like, that's a great idea, Roman. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So he's like, hey, fake Sidney, come with me. Let's go find the rapey screen room. She's like, okay. And so they go. Oh, no, that's right. Fake Gail goes with him at first. That's what happens. Fake Gail goes with him at first, and Black Randy and fake Sidney, they go off in another part of the house. And then Gail, and it's like Scooby-Doo, like they're in a big mansion, and they're looking around for clues. They're looking for Sidney and Lance Henriksen. It's just like, I just really don't like this whole third act. I don't like any. This is the third act, chat, and I feel it's just like, it's like Scooby-Doo. I don't like it. And everyone's like, whoa, we're going to split up. We're splitting up. They say we're not going to split up, and then they split up. They're in pairs of two. That's Scooby-Doo. What does fucking Fred always says? Daphne and I will go this way. Velma, Shaggy, and Scoob go that way. I mean, I want you near us because Daphne and I are going to fuck, which clearly was what happens in all those episodes. Shit, we just don't see it. It's Scooby-Doo shit. And so we follow Roman, who decides, well, if anyone keeps a rapey screening room, it's clearly in the basement. And so he goes in the basement, which is filled with movie props and Ghostface mask everywhere. He's like, this is cool, right, Gail? He says, I'm going to stay up here. I don't want to go in the basement. Basements are scary. Whatever. And he goes down. And for whatever reason, he's like transfixed on this casket that's slightly open. It looks like something's moving inside. He just goes, whoa, and then, bah, we cut. It's like, oh, what happened? We don't know. Eventually, move on from that. And we then cut to Gail and Dewey, and they go upstairs, and they find Randy. Randy's there, and they're like, hey, Randy, what's... Oh, no, that's the thing. That's Dewey, fucking Dewey and Gail separate at one point. It's like, why is everyone just fucking separating? Randy says, I'm going to go look for... Dewey... There's so many characters. Dewey, I'm going to go look for Black Randy and fake Sidney. Gail, why don't you go look for fake Gail? And she's like, cool. And so she eventually goes to the basement where she opens the casket where Roman is fucking dead. He's been killed by Ghostface. And fake Gail's like, is he really dead? They go, eh! And they all scream because they're really scared and shit. And eventually they keep walking. They keep going. And we then cut to... they're walking, and Dewey, we cut to Dewey, and he meets Black Randy, and he's like, I've lost fake Sidney. I don't know where she is. And eventually, Gail and fake Gail, they come upon Sidney, fake Sidney, and she's like, hey, guys, I think I found this secret tunnel that leads to the rape screening room. And they're like, what are you doing? We just found Roman. He's fucking dead. We gotta get out. He's like, no, you guys get away from me. I'm not gonna die with 2 D-list actors. Fuck you. And she's like, her personality completely changes. I didn't fuck Lance Henriksen to die in his creepy, rapey mansion. And she runs away, Chad. And who does she run into? Ghostface, who starts stabbing her, Chad, in the face and the chest. And they're like, fake Sidney, are you okay? And they hustle over there, and they see fake Sidney's dissected body being dragged away, Chad, and she's been killed. We also learned that Lance Henriksen's still up to his old creepy, rapey shit by, you know, sleeping with all these stars. That's the reason why he gave fake Sidney the part. After that, we then cut to Gail, fake Gail, Randy, Black Randy, and Dewey, and they're like, fucking Ghostface is here, what? And Ghostface just bursts out, fucking hits Dewey on the side of the head. He gets knocked out. And then fake Gail runs into a secret rape tunnel, because Lance Henriksen has put them all over his mansion. They're everywhere. All these secret little tunnels, chat, to his various screening rapey rooms. And then she's like lost. She's like, I don't know where to go. Eventually, you know, Randy at this point, Black Randy's like, well, I'm the only black man in this movie. I need to get out of here. And Ghostface is like, well, because you're the only black man in this movie, you need to die now. I could have killed you first, but I didn't. And so he just proceeds to stab and slice and bludgeon poor Black Randy, Chad. And eventually they're fighting, and he just literally yeets Black Randy out a window, and then boom, and he dies. And he dies, Chad. He doesn't even hit this, like, right, he's like almost hit the pool. If he just threw him a little bit farther, he would have fallen into the pool. And it's like, no, on the edge of the pool, Chad, and boom, you black, get the fuck out. That's pretty much what happened. Witness me. Thank you, XR Gaming, for the raid. I hope you're doing very well. Black Randy has died. He did not deserve that because he did not get a lot of screen time, Chad. It's a goddamn shame. It's a goddamn shame. But he died, and because he's like, okay, whatever. Eventually, we cut back to a fake Gail who is trying to get out of Lance Henriksen's weird rape maze. And it's all around it's this kind of imaginative, like, okay, this guy's super fucking creepy, and he has all these mazes and secret tunnels in his homes, which he clearly just uses for all the women he's raping and fucking. It's horrifying. Did you call him Black Randy? That's what he is, because in the movie, he's Randy, and they literally just say, it's like, well, you know, he wanted to have a new Randy character, but make him a little more urban. Nia Brownie, bye, Chris. And that actor goes to the same shit Ashley does he now? That's funny. But eventually we cut back to fake Gail, and Ghostface has made it into the rape tunnels, and he's chasing her, and she realizes there's a shit ton of two-way mirrors like in all the bedrooms, so Lance Henriksen can obviously just watch while women are changing and stuff, or in the nude. And she's banging on the two-way on the glass, but Gail and And Dewey, they don't hear it. They're like, do you hear like the sound? And then, Ghostface just starts stabbing the shit out of fake Gale shit, keeps stabbing her in the gut. And Dewey just finally realizes, like, oh shit, I'm gonna shoot the glass. And so I can, and they start shooting the glass, but it's too late because when he shoots the last glass pane, we see the massacred body of fake Gale. She's dead, Chad. Oh, it's not good. It's not good. And, eventually, what happens is, that's the other thing too. Gale and Dewey, they find the ghost before like all this shit starts happening. I should have said this. They find the Ghostface mask and the suit that's covered in blood and the knife and everything in one of Lance Henriksen's closets, and they find a voice modulator. And they realize they click a button and it sounds like them. And so whoever's been making calls like adds them. It's not been them. And someone's using a voice modulator of movie magic. It's like, ew, okay. Long story short, both of them are captured and tied up by Ghostface. There's some shenanigans in the basement. Gale does discover a mannequin head that looks oddly like Roman's head. But they're captured. Eventually, we cut back to Sidney, who is in the police station, and McDreamy is finally back from whatever he was doing, and he's working on something else. But then Sidney gets a call, and it's like, how you doing, Sidney? And she's like, oh, you again? He's like, yeah, it's me, and I have your friends, too. And they're like, Sidney, stay away, Sidney. Bro, no, Dewey. And he's like, I need you, Sidney. I need you to be a part of my third act. And she's like, I'm gonna tell McDreamy. He's like, if you tell them, I'll kill them right here, and I'll know that you did. And she's like, And he's like, come alone, Sidney. Come to me. And she looks at the room. We look at certain things that she's seeing in the room, and it's like, okay. And she's like, all right, I'm coming to you, motherfucker. And she gets like a gun, this little pea shooter out of McDreamy's desk, and she goes to the mansion, Chad. She goes to Lance Henriksen's weird mansion filled with rape mazes, and she I will say this, she sees Black Randy's body's right out there, and she does pay respect to that man because no one gave him any respect, Chad. She's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's not okay because he's dead. But then, Chad, she notices something in his hand. Someone put something in his hand post-mortem, and it's a metal detector. And she's like, what? And then she gets a good old ring-a-ding-ding on her cellular phone, as they call him in this movie. And it's like, hey, it's me. And he's like, what do you want? She's like, use the metal detector on yourself. I need to make sure you're not trying to cheat in my movie. And he's like, okay. And so she starts scanning her body. He's like, I want you to get every nook and cranny. And he's like, all right. Eventually, he goes down her leg and, the gun. Throw it in the pool, Sidney. And she's like, okay. Throws in the pool, and he's like, all right, now walk inside the house. And she walks inside, and she's confronted with Ghostface. He's like, I'm here to kill you, Sidney. My vengeance will be complete. She's like, nice. And she takes out another gun, which I like. Why didn't you check to see if there were two guns there? Dude, man, he got overconfident, and she just fucking shoots the shit out of him. And he's like, oh! And he falls down, dead. She then goes to Dewey and Gale and starts to untie them, but they're like, where did Ghostface go? And she turns around, and literally Ghostface just fucking got up. And they don't know where he is. And I was like, well, that's not good. That's probably not good. And so then she's like, why don't you guys just stay here still tied up, and I will go and find Ghostface by myself. We're going to Scooby-Doo this shit. If any movie could use the line, I'll take that from Doctor Strange. It applies here, chat. We're Scooby-Dooing this shit. And so she leaves, and she starts hearing this dialogue, and it's her mom. It's Maureen Prescott. It's like, oh, Sidney, will you ever forgive me for what I've done, Sidney? And everything. And then she walks in, Chad, and Ghostface is there. And she's like, die, motherfucker, shoots him again. And then she's out of bullets, and he's just standing there like this. And he's like, nice try, Sidney. And he takes off the robe, and he's not shirt cocking it, Chad, okay? He has Kevlar body armor on. He has a bulletproof vest. Supernatural, I get it, but not really. But seemingly supernatural that takes so many bullets, chat, like someone like, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. And then he's like, I'm sure you're wondering how all of this has come to be, Sidney. And she's like, I don't really know what's going on. Well, I will explain everything to you in a very heavy exposition-like way. And he takes the mask off, and it's Roman the director. And she's like, wait, who are you again? And she's like, I'm Roman, the director of Stab 3. I'm your brother, Sidney. It's like, wait, what? And he's like, yes, I came from the same mother as you, the same vagina, Sidney. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Back up. You knew her as Maureen Prescott, but I knew her as Rena Reynolds. She did come out here in the 70s, and she was raped by Lance Henriksen, and then she got pregnant, so I'm Lance Henriksen's son, I'm not sure. I don't know, but she abandoned me here, Sidney. She abandoned me here. But I thought I was but a boy wanting to meet his mother, and so I found her. It took me so long, Sidney, and I went to Woodsboro, and I presented her myself in front of her, and she said that I was not a part of her life, that I'm not her true son. And I took that kind of personally, Sidney. I'm not gonna lie, I took that kind of personally, and I came up with a really cool idea. All right? I learned that she was fucking everything with 2 legs, maybe even 4 legs. Maybe she was into some kinky bestiality shit. I'm not sure, Sidney. And she was sleeping not only with Cotton Wary, not only with Billy Loomis's father, but everyone. And I thought, oh, the possibilities. And I filmed all of it, Sidney. And I got in touch with your boyfriend, Billy Loomis, and I showed him the footage. And he became so angry. But with my tutelage, I taught him to be the killer and getting an accomplice to blame. And we also learned that he would have blamed the whole thing on Stu here, which is actually kind of cool. I kind of like that. But this whole thing, the big fucking reveal is Billy Loomis, Stu, they were pawns in the grand master plan of Roman the director, who is secretly the half-brother of Sidney. And he put all this into motion. And I guess Billy Loomis never told Sidney that this fucking guy came over or whatever. Just never mentioned that. All right. And that's the event. So the events of the first Scream movie are because of Roman. And, well, he wasn't responsible. He even said, I wasn't responsible for anything with Scream 2. That wasn't me. That was just fucking Billy's mom. He's capitalizing off of what I did. Because I'm, like, really cool and stuff. But now, Sidney, I will get away with this. Because I have voice modulation. Movie magic. This is movie magic, chat. Look at my hands. Movie magic. And with voice modulation, I have recreated your voice to make it sound exactly like you, and I have left a message on that answering machine over there, where you go crazy and talk about you just lost your mind when you were living in isolation and you decided to become the new Ghostface killer. It's like, whoa, there's a lot going on. Also, he goes to the closet where he's been keeping Lance Henriksen, and I'm gonna kill this man, Sidney. You hate him too. And he kills Lance Henriksen. It doesn't matter. And she's like, that's bullshit. This is bullshit. She's like, you're bullshit. And then they start fighting, chat. They start fighting and they start stabbing and everything. But then the lights go out. And also Gail and fucking Dewey free themselves and they're looking for Sidney, but they can't get inside. They can't get inside the room because it's the rapey screening room, right? Eventually, though, we cut to Roman. He's looking for Sidney. Doesn't know where she is. But we see that she's grabbing, like, a knife and shit. And so he decides, like, ooh, wait a minute. I'll just call her, and her phone will go off. And he calls her, and it's right behind him. And she just starts stabbing the shit out of Roman. She's like, oh, God, oh, God. And then, also, he shoots her, too. But she has a Kevlar vest on. She's like, yeah, great minds think alike. I guess we are brother and sister. And she throws the Kevlar vest down. He's dying. He's in a pool of his own blood and mess and shit and feces and urine. He's like, Sidney, hold my hand, Sidney. And she's like, all right. And so she holds his hand in like an attempt to like, I feel sorry for you. And he He dies. Eventually, Gale and Dewey come in. They're like, whoa, what happened, Sid? And he's like, Roman was my brother, and he planned the events of the original Scream film, but not Scream 2. They go, that's dumb. And she goes, yeah, it's kind of dumb. And then, he jumps up because he's supernatural. And then Dewey's like, and he starts shooting him. He's like, you can't kill me, Dewey. I am immortal. And then he's like, Dewey, just aim for the head. He goes, okay. Boom, and shoots him. Head explodes, chat. And he dies. It's it. That's it for Roman, the true Ghostface killer. We then cut. Also, I forgot, because he's such a forgettable character. We also have McDreamy. He arrives and he attempts to save Sidney, but he gets his ass kicked at one point. That's what happens. He tries to save Sidney, gets his ass kicked. He gets stabbed to shit, and he survives the events of this film. He comes in there, Roman stabs him. He gets really fucked up, but he's okay by the end of the movie. I forgot about McDreamy, but he was a red herring, Chad. He's a good guy. He just thinks, Sidney's a cutie patootie. We then cut, it's months later, and we're back on Sidney's log cabin property. Dewey has proposed to Gale, and she accepts, and they're gonna get married. And then we see Sidney walking in with her golden retriever with the appropriated name of Cherokee, and we see that she is now dating Officer McDreamy, and he's like, hey, Sidney, you want to watch a movie? What kind? He's like, we'll go ahead and show you. He's like, no, I want to know what kind. I want to make sure it's not a scary movie. But then they go out. I guess they have a TV outside to go watch it. But then she goes to lock up the security system of her house, but she decides not to. And when she walks away, the door just magically opens. She just stares in and goes, oh, well. And then she goes outside of her surviving friends of Gale, Dewey, and her new boyfriend, McDreamy. I forgot his name because he's such a non-character. And just leaves the door. We end on the door just wide open, Chad. Like the franchise. We can come back anytime. It's wide open. And thank God they did, Chad, because Scream 4 is a much better movie. But that is my scene by scene breakdown to Scream 3. Just a sloppy movie. Sloppy movie, chat. Some cool sequences, some cool ideas. I like that it's a critique on Hollywood. Got very meta with that, but at the same time, it was filled with so many characters I just didn't care about. They were just like typical characters in a horror film. They're just there to die. They're the meat for the grinder, chat. That's what they are. I'm just like, I don't like being with any of these people. Unlike in Scream 1 and Scream 2, where I actually liked those people. I liked Randy. I liked Rose McGowan's character of Tatum. And when we got to Scream 2, like I liked those other characters. I liked Jerry O'Connell. I thought he was fun. I liked Sarah Michelle Gellar. But these people, they're stereotypes, and that's annoying to me. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you indulging in stuff that makes horror films weak? It's not like an awful film. There's some great imaginative sequences, but my God, to be your last chapter. To be the final one, the last chapter in your trilogy. Disappointing, chat. So, yeah, for me, it's, oh, God. I don't know. I give it like a rental. Chat. It's like a rental. It's a regular old rental. There's some good stuff there, but not enough. Of course, would you be interested in reviewing the MTV series Scream? No. As someone who wasn't the biggest fan of the film, I thought the series was decent. I don't know. That's a lot of material. Maybe I'll do a first episode. Well, as you know, chat, in case you're unaware, I do TV reviews. If you donate 1,000 biddies, that's $10, I review an episode of a TV series of your choice. So, 1,000 biddies, I'll do the first episode. I'll do that. You're too kind in this film? Yeah. I'm going to give some bullshit. I know it's definitely the lowest ranked film in the franchise, and it deserves it, Chad. It deserves it. Just creep, man. Those fucking rape tunnels. Jesus Christ. Do you think Harvey Weinstein's house is like that? Ugh. Like every other door in that house leads to a creepy tunnel. Lance Henderson, what are you doing? Juicy Bro, I still laughing at that. Saw you did 20 minutes ago. You sound so dumb. I was kind of done. I will consider that then. Thank you, Elite. Low rental for you, Austin? Yeah, maybe I'm a low rental. Chris Hansen voice, take a seat. It wasn't my fault. Oh, my Lord. An absolute pleasure to have you here, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the review for Scream 3. I will be doing my scene by scene breakdown for Scream 4 tomorrow, chat, and I can safely say, Scream 4 is a much better movie than Scream 3. No worries about that. No, thank you. Can't say, woo. Yeah, I got lost during this. It was like, wait, what was happening? Where are we now? But we got back on track. Too many characters with the same goddamn name. Well, no fairness, technically does sort of fit because Billy never said how he found out his mom was having an affair with his dad. Not saying it's not dumb, but it checks out. Fair enough. I just liked it because I like that Billy was the mastermind. I like that Billy and Stu, I mean, Stu maybe to a lesser degree, but Billy was the master. I like that. I thought it took away from Billy and also took away from Stu. That's just how I feel personally. But I get you. In terms of like, you know, the sense of it, fair enough. There's also something else that I think kind of detracts from this with every character who's turned out to be Ghostface. We can point out something else the actor was in and be like, oh, it's so-and-so from and so-and-so, and that makes it a little more special. Can you name anything the actor playing Roman was in? I don't know him. I don't mean to talk shit about that actor either. It's just, I just feel like the other thing too, I don't know. There's nothing about, he doesn't stand out. At all. Huh? Who? Scream, they ruins Chris's Scream headcanon. It does. It messes with it. I don't like it. The real question is, which is better, Scream 2 or Scream 4? I still say Scream 2 is better than Scream 4, but Scream 4, I like Scream 4 a lot. And I'll go into the details as to why. Just Scream 6, Old Man Jenkins' revenge. Might as well. The thing is, too, this is a Scooby-Doo. There was so much Scooby-Doo shit going on in this movie. Like, you know, you have Old Man Jenkins, except it's Old Man Rapey Jenkins with Lance Henriksen's character. We have the mansion where there's secret rooms and tunnels and paintings. And it's like, this is Scooby-Doo. Everyone splits up. Was it? I wonder if this is a critique on Scooby-Doo. Just did not like it, Chad. I didn't like it. Little boss, there was some fun stuff in there. Also, I agree, Chris. It is heavily implied that he is Lance's son, but they never came out. Yeah, I thought so. Well, it doesn't make Billy and Stu any less Billy. No, that's true. It doesn't make him any less Billy and Stu. 100% Casfay. Scooby-Doo's and eyes wide shut. Yeah. That's what you get with Scream 3. Oh. Remember anything after Scream 2? Scream 4 is worth checking out. But I'll reveal my thoughts on that film tomorrow, chat, which I'm very, very fun. You think Stu's alive and being Scream 5? Yeah. So I have my prediction, chat. So like I said before the top of this review, for Scream 3, the original idea was to have Stu come back. He was going to be alive, horrifically, deformed because of the TV fell on his head. And he would have trained a whole group of new students to be Ghostface. And it will take place back in Woodsboro. Would have reused the same sets and locations and the original house and everything. And that was the movie. But because of Columbine happened during that time, they scrapped that idea because they were like, well, we can't sell this. We can't have a guy teaching students to be murderers, I think that's what this new movie is going to be. Because they're all going back to Woodsboro for some reason. They don't know why. They're going back to Stu. Why are we going back to Stu's original house? I think that's why. He's alive. He's been teaching all these other new kids to be ghost faces. I'm hoping. Plays of earlobe, and what would your motive be? Dewey, let's split up, gang. It's exactly what happens. He's like Fred. He's like a doofier version than Fred. You think any of the main trio will die in Scream 5? Probably. Yeah, I do. I think some. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think Dewey's gonna die because he looks so fucking sad. He's got that sad dad face now. Sad dad divorce face. So I think Dewey's definitely on the chopping block. You know what horror series surprised me? Scream Queens on Fox. Horror comedy story. It's very graphic too. Great show. I heard about that. I never watched it. So place your bets. Dude from The Boys, innocent or killer? Who was in The Boys in that movie? What actor? I think Ja Rule will be the next killer. Maybe Nia Brownie, maybe. He'll never die. He's been stabbed on the inside. That's why you got to kill him now. He's survived all of these. Now you got to... Oh, Jack Quaid? Oh, yeah, I could see him. Because he's kind of... Maybe. I would like to see him be the killer. I think that'd be fun. By the way, the guy who's the fake Dewey, the character's named Tom Prince. Named after Freddie Prinze Jr. Conspiracy, yeah. Yeah, no, I buy that. That makes sense. Because wasn't Freddie Prinze Jr. like in one of Ken Williamson's other films? Was he in I Know What You Did Last Summer? That was him, right? I'm trying to remember, chat. All those, white 20-something-year-olds from the late 90s all look the same to me. He killed Rue in Hunger Games, so it checks out. Fair enough. There you go. And he played Freddy. Very nice. Him and Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's right. And Sarah Michelle Gellar was in Scream 2. It's all connected, chat. It's all connected. But now, my friends, and Daryl McCoy, by the way, in case I forgot to say it, a pleasure to have you here. I hope you're having a very nice evening. Just finished my review for Scream 3, and ooh-wee, what a review. I almost bamboozled myself. Like, wait, where are we now in the movie? I had to keep notes for this movie, chat. I'm like, I got to look at these notes occasionally just to find out where the fuck are we. Yeah, chat. Lot going on, but not a lot happening. Buster Rhymes will come back and scream, trick or treat, motherfucker. How has there not been a 6 Degrees of Ken Williamson yet? That'd be funny. I get this odd feeling that most of the stuff in this trailer is in the movie. They're just messing. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That'd be cool. I'm here. The chat, I'm still excited for Scream 2022. Especially after seeing Scream 4, I was like, oh, this is good. I like Scream 4. And we'll talk about that more in the future. Tomorrow. I'll do my review, chat. So if you like my Scream 3 review, if you like any of my past Scream reviews, chat, tune in for 4. But I'm going to take a quick break and refill my beverage, and we're going to come back. We're going to play some single-player games, playing more of that Death's Door. So hold on to your butts and stick around.